can you give me a hug?" 4 words. That's all she said. 4 simple words from a complete stranger in a snow-covered cafe in Burlington, Vermont. She was broken, trembling, tears streaming down her pale face, and she was asking him, a widowed father she had never met, for the one thing money can't buy: human connection. But what Warren Hollins did next, what he almost didn't do, would set into motion a love story so unexpected, so raw, and beautifully painful that it would change 2 shattered lives forever. This is the story of a man who almost let the love of his life walk out the door, a woman who had nothing left to lose, and a 7-year-old girl who saw what the adults couldn't. Before we continue, please tell us where in the world are you tuning in from? We love seeing how far our story travel. The snow fell silently over Burlington, Vermont on that cold Thursday evening in January 2020. Warren Hollins pushed through the door of the Birchwood Cafe, his 7-year-old daughter Nia clutching his gloved hand. The warmth inside hit them immediately, a welcome escape from the biting wind that had turned their cheeks pink and their breath into small white clouds. "Daddy, my fingers are frozen," Nia said, wiggling them dramatically. Warren smiled down at her. "Let's get you that hot cocoa I promised, okay?" They had just come from Green Valley Medical Center, where Warren's younger brother was recovering from back surgery. It had been a long, exhausting day. Warren had taken time off from his construction job, picked Nia up early from school, and spent hours trying to keep everyone's spirits high in that sterile hospital room. Now all he wanted was 15 minutes of peace before driving home. He ordered a black coffee for himself and a hot chocolate with extra marshmallows for Nia. They found a worn leather booth near the frosted window, and Nia immediately began drawing shapes in the condensation on the glass: a heart, a star, a lopsided snowman. Warren watched her with tired eyes. She looked so much like her mother. The same curious brown eyes, the same way she tilted her head when she was concentrating. Corinne. 5 years. 5 years since she had passed away from an illness that took her within weeks of diagnosis. 5 years of Warren raising Nia alone, learning how to braid hair from YouTube tutorials, attending parent-teacher conferences solo, and falling asleep in an empty bed. He had accepted that his love story was over. That chapter had closed, and he had made peace with it. Or so he thought. That's when he noticed her. A young woman sat alone at a table in the far corner of the cafe. She was staring at nothing, not at her phone, not at a book, not at the snow falling outside, just nothing. She had long auburn hair that fell in loose waves past her shoulders. Her skin was pale, almost ghostly, made even more so by the obvious distress written across her face. Her green eyes were rimmed with red, and dried tear tracks stained her cheeks. She wore a black dress and a thin cardigan. No coat, no scarf, no gloves, in the middle of a Vermont winter. Warren tried not to stare. It wasn't his business. Everyone had hard days. But something about her pulled at him. He recognized that look, the hollow, shell-shocked expression of someone whose entire world had just collapsed. He had worn that same look 5 years ago, standing in the hospital hallway after the doctors told him Corinne was gone. "Daddy, look, I drew you!" Nia held up a napkin with a stick figure that had very long arms. Warren chuckled softly. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. I love it." But even as he praised his daughter's artwork, his gaze kept drifting back to the woman in the corner. 20 minutes passed. Warren finished his coffee. Nia scraped the last of the marshmallow foam from her mug. It was time to go home. He was reaching for their coats when he saw her stand up. The woman wiped her face with a crumpled napkin. She smoothed down her dress with trembling hands, and then she walked toward the exit. But she didn't leave. She stopped directly in front of his table. Warren looked up, startled. The woman's lips trembled. Fresh tears welled in her green eyes. She tried to speak, but no words came out. She tried again. I'm so sorry to bother you. I know this is completely inappropriate. I know you don't know me, but... She paused, swallowed hard, pressed her lips together as if trying to hold herself together. Can you give me a hug? Please? I really need someone to hold me right now. Warren froze. His mind flooded with 1,000 thoughts at once. Who is this woman? Why me? What will people think? What will Naya think? Is this some kind of setup? He sat there, paralyzed by indecision, his mouth slightly open but no words coming out. 1 second passed. 2 seconds. 3. The woman's expression changed. The fragile hope that had flickered in her eyes, that tiny, desperate ember, extinguished. In its place came something far worse. Shame, humiliation, heartbreak. She stepped back, shaking her head rapidly, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. I'm sorry, she whispered, her voice cracking. That was so stupid of me. Please forgive me. Just forget I said anything. She turned and hurried toward the door. And in that moment, something inside Warren cracked open. He thought of all the nights after Corinne's death when he had lain awake, staring at the ceiling, desperate for someone, anyone to tell him it was going to be okay. He thought of the loneliness that had wrapped around him like a second skin, the way grief made you feel invisible, like you were drowning while the rest of the world kept breathing. He thought of what Corinne would say if she were watching him right now. Don't let her walk away, Warren. You don't dare. Wait. The word left his mouth before he could stop it. Please, don't go. The woman stopped. Her hand hovered over the door handle, but she didn't turn around. Warren stood up slowly. He walked toward her, his footsteps heavy on the wooden floor. When he was just a few feet away, he spoke again, his voice softer this time. I'm sorry I didn't respond right away. You surprised me, that's all. But that doesn't mean I don't care. He paused. Whatever you're carrying tonight, you don't have to carry it alone. And then he opened his arms. The woman turned around. Her eyes were wide with disbelief, as if she couldn't quite believe what was happening. For a moment she just stood there, frozen. Then she stepped into his embrace, and she broke. Completely. Her entire body trembled as sobs tore through her. She buried her face against his shoulder and cried, not quietly, not politely, but with the raw, guttural sounds of someone who had been holding pain inside for too long. Warren held her steady. He didn't need to. Sometimes presence is more powerful than words could ever be. They stood like that for what felt like an eternity. The other customers in the cafe glanced over, curious, but no one interrupted. Even the barista behind the counter watched in silence. Finally, the woman pulled back. She wiped her eyes with shaking hands, mascara smudged across her cheeks. I can't believe I just did that. You must think I'm insane. I think you're human, and I think you're having the worst day of your life. A small, sad laugh escaped her lips. You have no idea. Naya had quietly walked over from the booth. She looked up at the little girl with wide, innocent eyes. Why are you so sad? She asked softly. The woman looked down at the little girl, and something in her expression shifted. A flicker of warmth, a crack in the armor. I lost someone very special to me, sweetheart. My mother. She passed away this morning. Warren's chest tightened. I'm so sorry. The woman nodded slowly, pressing her lips together to keep from crying again. She was all I had. She raised me my whole life. My father left when I was a baby. No siblings, no family. It was just us. And now... She couldn't finish the sentence, but she didn't need to. Warren understood. Her name was Audrey Kincaid. She was 29 years old, a librarian at the Burlington Public Library, the kind of person who remembered the names of every child who came to Story Hour and always had a book recommendation ready for anyone who asked. Her mother, June, had been diagnosed with a degenerative illness 3 years earlier. The doctors had given her 5 years, maybe 7 if she was lucky, but the illness had other plans. For 3 years, Audrey had been her mother's sole caregiver. She had moved